tempo.
In classifying the barbell back squat from a one-dimensional view, we found it to be a gross motor skill due to the large muscle groups involved, a discrete motor skill due to it having a distinct start and end point, and a closed motor skill due to the athlete initiating the movement and the environment always in a stable state. In classifying the barbell back squat from a two-dimensional view based on Gentile's taxonomy, we classified it to be a 1B skill. This is due to the skill having a stationary regulatory condition, no body transport, object manipulation, and no intertrial variability.
Key aspects to performing the barbell back squat are as follows. You want to keep your chest tall, back tight and straight. Keep eyes on the floor looking ahead. Keep feet flat just outside of shoulder width with toes slightly turned out. Knee and hip movements are to occur simultaneously. It is natural for your torso to lean forward during the movement. Knees follow toes to avoid knees caving in. Squat until your hip crease is below the top of your knee. In the bottom position, you will look like you are crouching with an upright torso. The bar is not to double bounce, which is backwards movements while standing up. Drive through heels and push knees out. Fully lock out knees and hips while standing as upright as you can. Maintain balance and don't fall over. Do this without a spot. In measuring the performance of a barbell back squat, we can look at it from two different ways. The first is a qualitative approach, where the novice will try to meet all the key aspects. These key aspects are based on the International Powerlifting Federation's rules, as well as guidelines from journal articles. These are as follows. The client will receive a score out of 10 and receive feedback on what needs to be worked on. As for a quantitative approach, it is not as practical for our novice as the main aim of the skill training program is to learn the key aspects and perform a good quality movement. Therefore, the amount of reps he/she can perform or weight he/she can do is irrelevant at this stage of measuring performance.
After our novice has completed our 4-week program, we want to assess how well they have learned the skill and if the knowledge of the skill can be passed on to other skills. This will be done by getting them to perform a retention test and a transfer test. The retention test will be done 1 and 3 weeks after the post-test. The retention test will be exactly the same as the pre- and post-test to identify what has been maintained since the completion of training. If the novice can produce a high score in the retention test compared to the pre-test, we can conclude that learning has occurred. The transfer test will occur in 2 different forms. One, in a new context, for example, in a competition in front of a crowd with competition expectations, and 2, a variation, for example, such as a leg press or a sumo deadlift. This is to assess adaptability and if learning has occurred.
Fitz identified 3 stages of learning. The first stage is the cognitive stage, where the novice will observe others frequently, receive verbal feedback from coaches, and begin to use their sensory feedback to identify things like not hitting depth or feet coming off the ground. They will make numerous errors and begin to discover what works for them. We predict for our novice that they will remain in this phase for roughly the first week of training. The second stage is the associative stage, where the novice is still understanding how things work. However, they are making their adaptations and less errors. They require less feedback now. We predict our novice will enter this phase in week 2 and remain here for 2 to 3 weeks. The last stage is the autonomous stage, where the movement patterns become automatic to our novice and therefore they can divert attention elsewhere. In this instance, attention may be diverted away from movement patterns and towards increments in weight. We predict our novice may enter this phase at the beginning of the 4th week.
Our participant has a long history of doing sports karate where he would perform a stance called shikodachi, a stance which involves simultaneous knee and hip bending, an upright torso position, and knee and toes pointed out. We can conclude from this that a positive transfer, proactive transfer, and retroactive transfers have occurred.
We can advise the novice to set goals in order to increase their motivation levels and keep them interested. This gives them a long-term goal to progress towards, as well as giving them minor goals to try and achieve every session or every week. SMART goals is the template we would use, as this ensures that the goals are achievable. During each session, a variety of practice tools will be implemented to provide variation and also to keep the novice from getting bored of the same movement. Our variations we will prescribe to our novice are bodyweight box squats, bodyweight squats, dumbbell squats, barbell box squats, and barbell back squats.
As we instruct and demonstrate to our novice, we need to have an understanding of what type of learner they are in order to provide the right type of modelling. We do not want to overwhelm them with instructions, therefore we will provide more demonstrations to provide them with a visual to interpret what we instruct. Instructions will be kept short and simple and not too scientific. Demonstrations will be used also to engage the novice and must be performed correctly. The novice can watch other learners instead of watching professionals, as they can relate more to them. Demonstrations will be given frequently during the cognitive stages and will be given whenever a new variation is taught. Demonstrations will exceed practice for the first couple of sessions.
Verbal cues we will use during our skill training program are as follows. Get comfortable, set, chest up, knees out, sit or down, up, stand strong, heels, tight, bend, big air.
As a safety measure and to gain attention, feedback will be given terminally after the movement has concluded. This is to allow them to focus on what they were doing and not distract them while a weight is on their back. Concurrent feedback in terms of praise may be given, as it boosts confidence and reassures novices that what they are doing is correct. Phrases such as, "that was better" or "good." Feedback based on quality of movement is recommended rather than feedback on how much they lifted. There are two forms of feedback that you can give to a novice. They are knowledge of results and knowledge of performance. One is quantity-based and one is quality-based. Knowledge of results shows whether something was successful or not. Knowledge of performance shows why something occurred the way it did.
In the early stages of learning the barbell back squat, feedback will be given post-performance frequently after every set. This, however, will gradually reduce to every second and third set, as less and less errors occur only on certain things such as depth or knees caving in is when bandwidth feedback will be used. This will provide feedback only as required. At the end of every session, a summary will be given to highlight key points to work on for next time.
The barbell back squats will be practiced in whole movements, not partial movements, as it is already a small and basic movement. Distribution of training will be over 4 weeks. Each week will involve 3 30-minute sessions, and each session will involve a warm-up of stretching and a cool down. Rest periods between 1 and 2 minutes are required in order to prevent fatigue. Blocked practice will be used as opposed to random practice so that the novice can learn each skill separately instead of grouping them all together. This allows them to develop one squat at a time and then progress. The barbell back squat will be broken down into its simplest form, but the entire movement will still be completed. Progressive segmentation will be used throughout the training program. There will be several different variations of the squat we will use to break down the movement into its simplest forms and then progressively build up over time. This will be done over 4 weeks throughout the 3 30-minute sessions as follows. Week 1, practice the box squat, bodyweight squat, dumbbell squat, and attempt the barbell box squat. Week 2, continue to practice the barbell box squat and then introduce the barbell back squat. Week 3, continue to practice the barbell back squat whilst trying to eliminate as many errors as possible. Week 4, introduce weight increments.
Set, go. Set, go. Go.